Size variations is probably the first thing that comes to mind when talking about how to fix the exhibit boxes. But there's another feature which would be a huge improvement to the boxes, and this feature, at least to me, appears easier and more likely to implement to the game as it is Null-Walls. Options to make the walls of the boxes invisible. This is no new idea, it has been around for a long time, and with the introduction of the walkthrough exhibits last year, it also started to feel like a thing that might come to the game later on, since you with the walkthrough exhibits can choose to have invisible walls and ceiling. Personally, I thought this meant that this feature would only be a few updates away for our classic boxes. It seemed like a logical next step, which is also why I first talk about this now. Now it has been more than a year and we have since seen 2 additions to the standard exhibit boxes, the Desert Horned Viper and now the Herman's Tortoise. And especially the Tortoise would be a logical reason to implement this feature, since they are common to keep in open air displays rather than a terrarium-like setup. But judging by this picture, it sadly doesn't look like there is a surprise update coming to the boxes. And why would this update be so important? The biggest criticism of the boxes is the lack of creative options, something I've played around with myself lately, which you can find some example of on my channel. And even when you decide to cover up a big part of the box to make them appear in different shapes and sizes, then especially the height of the boxes is still a big creative block. There's no logical way to cover it up unless you implement it into an even larger building. The other dimensions of the boxes are a bit easier to work around. You can put up a wall and a door and pretend it's a backstage area, or you can even hide it with landscaping. That is not possible at all with the top of the box, which is especially stupid because with almost all the display designs, there is nothing important going on in the top 1 to 2 meters of the box. In many of the designs it's just completely empty, especially in the desert displays. And yet all this dead space must define how big you make the building around it. If we at least could just remove the ceiling and the top half of the walls, we would come far from making more realistic designs. But even better would it be to be able to remove the walls completely, especially for the ground dwelling species and those you could expect to see inside a tropical hall or in open air enclosures. Our new Tortoise being a perfect example of this. I'll try and demonstrate what I mean with this desert display. If you sink the exhibit down to a ground level and then do your best to cover up all the edges of the landscaping inside of it with rocks and plants and so on, then you can make the area where the animal can spawn appear like it is part of the ground around the box. You might end up with a few animal spawning places that are underground, but to me that is not a big deal as long as there are some visible spawning spots above. Now we just need to build a wall or a fence around it and then it will look like a tiny habitat for the exhibit species. I hope you get what I mean if you pretend you can't see the glass and black frame of the box here. This would hugely expand the creative use of the boxes. I can't even imagine what people would come up with if we had this. You could make iguanas appear free roaming in tropical houses, make buffalo frogs sit next to your ponds. It would be easier to make exhibits for aquatic animals like axolotls look like aquariums. You could even make it look like 2 different exhibit species are in the same enclosure and so on. Endless possibilities. This would bring so much new life to this old gameplay feature, which to many people have been disappointing from the start. It would almost make the exhibit animals feel like brand new species added to the game, because people who used to ignore them would suddenly see all the creative possibilities a Null-Wall option could open up for. So while size variations for the boxes would be great, especially smaller ones, I would much rather ask for Null-Walls. It seems like a feature that requires less work than designing new box displays and make new spawn spots and interactions for various new sizes of exhibits, and I think invisible walls offer as many if not more creative options for the boxes than sizes do. Make sure to like this video so there is a bigger chance more people will see it and a bigger chance that Frontier will notice how badly we want this feature for the basic exhibits. It is one of the best things that could happen before support ends one day. Let's hope that's not soon. For me this would be one of the most important free update features that could happen at this point, which is why I want to put some focus on it today. And if you want to help me reach a big milestone for my channel before the new year, then make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Thank you for stopping by.